We're continuing to follow developing news out of the district. Two staff members of the Israeli embassy shot and killed in Northwest last night. The Embassy of Israel to the U.S. has identified them by their first names as Yaron and Sarah. They were gunned down while leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum along 3rd and F Streets.
Some of the video that you saw first on Fox 5 shows the person believed to be the suspect being detained at the scene. He's identified as 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, and you can hear him in the video yelling, "Free Palestine." Now, we also have new video of that 31-year-old being detained by D.C. police. Yoni Kalim, who was at the event and took that video, joins us now. And first of all, I appreciate you joining us this morning. Second of all, we just showed some of that video. Walk us through what you saw, what you heard and experienced.
Sure. So before I get into the story, I just want to take a moment and say, we're thinking of Yaron and Sarah and their families. May their memory be a blessing. It's absolutely horrific that these beautiful couple were set to get married, and they were unfortunately gunned down. We all gathered at a AJC event, that's the American Jewish Committee, and the irony of this whole story is the event was all about bridging the gap between Muslim, Christian, and Jewish organizations who are working together to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza. So this was a event with over 30 with staffers from over 30 embassies from around the world, people from the State Department, young professionals that were interested in learning more, but also a dialogue and an opportunity to figure out how people on the ground were working together, Palestinian, Israeli, and other, to bring aid to the people that need it most. So around 9:15, around 9:07, 9:10, we heard between 10 to 15 gunshots. Nobody really knew what was going on. Gunshots can be pretty common in Washington, D.C., especially in that area. So we didn't think twice, but security was on high alert. People that were exiting the event did come back in, and we did see the now suspect come in with a few of those people. At the time, nobody knew that he was the suspect, and people were looking after him. I think for about 10 minutes, he was clearly in a state of shock. Murdering two people is definitely going to sit in your conscience one way or another. And, he sat down, people brought him water, people were checking in on him. And then about, 5-10 minutes later, when the cops started to come in, the suspect approached the cops, immediately turned himself in, said, I did this for Palestine. And then he went into his Free Palestine chants. There's only one solution, Intifada revolution. And at this point, none of us, or I would say I wasn't fully aware that he was the suspect. I am very used to seeing pro-Palestinian protesters at Jewish events and Jewish spaces. It's quite common. So for us to make the jump that he happened to be related to those gunshots didn't happen until much later, when many of us at the event started to put pieces together. And we started to read reports both on X and other news channels. So I'm still in a state of shock right now. The community is reeling from these losses. What started off as a beautiful evening with a lot of education and hope and love turned into a horrific nightmare. And I just think it's important that we look at this event and not focus on the hate and not focus on the violence, and figure out how we can, number one, heal as a community, support the families of those that the victims, and two, how can we come together and create more dialogue? Because right now the media, the news is just fueling this fire of hate and it's us versus them, and they're evil and we're evil, and it's a nonstop news cycle. And I think people are becoming so radicalized by it. Obviously, we need to figure out how to stop anti-Semitism. We need to figure out how to create more security, but really, we need to figure out how to talk as a people again. I mean, we're citizens. We need to work together. We need to support each other. And I wish I had words for the families and for the victims from last night. It's absolutely horrific. I mean, I interacted with them at the dinner. I interacted with them throughout the event, and to find out that they were just gunned down, shot 10, 15 times is horrific.
Yoni, and thank you. I can't imagine the trauma that you're still dealing with after being there and witnessing this. I want to hear more about Yaron and Sarah, what you were able to gauge from them in terms of their personalities, their plights shortly before their deaths, sadly.
Sure. Unfortunately, I didn't have the privilege of knowing Yaron or Sarah very closely. However, after posting and sharing some of the images from the night and videos, I had multiple friends from communities and people I haven't even spoken with since grade school reach out to me. One friend was in Model UN with him. He was a sweet man. He was very smart, very young. I believe he was going to propose to Sarah within the month. I have other mutual friends with Sarah, so I know a number of people that were connected to her. The Jewish community is a very small one, and everybody either knows each other or there's one degree of separation between each of us. So when we have a loss like this, we all feel it, and we're all just kind of trying to take it in, and we're saying the prayers that we can, the mourner's Kaddish, and trying to be there for each other, because this senseless act of hate, it's not going to stop us. We're going to continue to support each other. We're going to continue to speak out, and we're going to continue to work to find efforts, work to make efforts to provide humanitarian aid to the people that need it. So if anything, this is just another reason that we got to keep fighting harder for our rights to be Jewish, to be proud to be Jewish, and to share that with the world. And it's a senseless act of horror that I'm hoping will never happen again.
Yoni, I do want to ask you, based on the fact that you said that you believe there were representatives from potentially 30 different embassies that were there last night, based on that, do you believe these victims were specifically targeted if there were representatives from so many nations there last night?
It's a great question. What's surprising to all of us is this was a private event. There was no publications, no news of the location, of the dates and times. My understanding is this was a act of domestic terrorism, and he was at unfortunately the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know how he happened to stumble upon the two Israeli embassy staffers, but I was looking to call my Uber around the same time, but my wife decided she wanted to stay a little longer. So that could have been me. What I've heard is that he was stalking outside of the Jewish Museum for some time, waiting for people to come outside. So I don't know exactly the motive, and I can't speak to that. And I wonder if the detectives have more information as they're interviewing him. But my understanding is he just happened to, unfortunately, catch them at the right time and senselessly murdered them in cold blood.
We've seen reports of him pacing back and forth. I do want to ask you, in light of everything that has happened and the two deaths, how are you feeling in regards to your safety moving forward and attending events like the one you attended last night?
Most Jewish events have security, including this one. I think there was definitely a lapse in security where after we heard the gunshots, the protocol should have been to lock down the place. However, we did have people come in that were already with the event. They had their name tags, and the person in custody now, he did have a suit on. So he did look like he could have been one of us. With that said, I do think protocols were breached, and he was let in, and thank God he didn't have a weapon on him, because we were with him for, 10, 15 minutes. Do I worry for my security? I don't. I believe that these events always have security, and these terrible incidents are not common. And I don't want people to necessarily be scared to speak out or scared to meet, because we're not going to see any progress if we're hiding away. I pray to God that my time isn't up yet, and that I can continue to work and advocate for peace and humanitarian efforts around the world. So the best thing that we can do is just pray and move forward and figure out how we can support the families and continue to protect the community that needs it.
Yoni, I appreciate you joining us this morning. Now less than 12 hours since the shootings unfolded in downtown D.C. Thank you, Yoni, for sharing your story. We wish you the best, obviously. Your friends, family, your wife you mentioned, and others who were directly impacted by the event last night.